Hey guys, welcome back to the JPM Performance channel. It is our post-Runoffs shop tour. We are back in the shop. It is Thursday, October 5th. You can see by all the photos, this is part of our, after the Runoffs, we do our Halloween stuff. So we have this big Halloween party every year. Anybody of you that wants to come to the Shacktown Halloween party, that's what this is. Shacktown. Number one rule about Shacktown is we don't tell you what it is exactly, so you're just gonna have to come experience it for yourself. October 28th starts at 7 o'clock in Shacktown, which is behind the shop here. So October is going to be a no race car weekends. We're going to do Halloween weekends. We are getting into the fall. The weather's changing. It's beautiful, but back in the shop. Have to get back to work, I guess. Had a good Runoffs and made it back. Everything's safe. So what we'll do is we'll kind of work our way around the shop, and then I'll kind of talk about how everything went. So for starting, I was presented with these really cool paintings. A guy by the name of Mike Juskowitz made these, and he had sent me a preview of this one. It's kind of interesting because I love the way that he does this, like the Hot Wheels thing with the big Bubba pipe and the 30-inch wheels and things like that. It's a really cool picture of how the BMW used to look. But it says Indy, and it's got the bricks, and it says 22. We know that it was actually 21, but it doesn't really matter because I won in 22 with the same livery anyway. So kind of really cool. And then I got this one that he did of this year's livery on the BMW with obviously the Greg Ira. So Jesse Prather Motorsports with Greg Ira driving, and really cool. I'm going to put these up on the wall of fame over by the front door. And Mike, if you're watching, I really appreciate this. Really cool. I appreciate you thinking of me, and I'm going to display both of these with pride. So that was kind of a neat little thing that I got at the Runoffs. So as you can see here, I have a 2013 Honda Pilot in the shop. So long time customer, or used to work on her parents' Miatas. So I'm helping her out, kind of doing a little bit of work on this Pilot. Not something I do a lot of is working on street cars. Very select few people and very select cars, but I've known this one for a long time. So 200,000 miles Honda Pilot, we're looking pretty good. So I did have, you guys, I'm sure you were paying attention, before the Runoffs, the shop's basically cleaned out. I told you we had a lot of things going on in October. Well, part of that is in this pile, just stuff that I brought back from the Runoffs. Transmission, a differential, an engine, a spare motor, another diff, and then I got some bits and pieces of a Honda motor here. Just, we got to get back to it, right? This is how this works. Post Runoffs, it is what it is. Around and around the circle of differential life goes. So just got in, as you saw, another load of differentials from my favorite Spec Miata prep shop. So more differentials to do, and I want to give a special shout out to the Runoffs tech crew this year, because they were extra friendly and extra helpful. And as you can see, the BMW is 100% put back together. And the reason being is that they did not make me pull the cylinder head for the 5th time in 5 years. So I guess 4 years of pulling the head, they figured out that they could probably trust me, and pulled the intake manifold, pulled the exhaust, so they could look inside the ports. And it was a really easy tech. Got back to the shop, got the car up in the air, and got it all back together. It's running, changed the oil, checked everything over. And as you can see over here, I've got a pile. So this is everything related to the BMW. And the reason that it's all laying here is because the new owner will be here to pick everything up in the next few hours. So this is everything from spare transmission, wheels and tires. You can see all the brake pads, the brakes, extra differentials, axles, calipers, nuts and bolts, starter, even, and I never had to use these, but even the molds for the headlights. Z3 replica headlight molds. So everything goes with the car. Super happy to announce that Dean and Tyler Ladd are purchasing the car, and the car is going to live only about 3 hours south of me here. I've helped with them with their Spec Miata over the years, and I'm super excited about them taking the project on, taking the car on, and we're going to see if we can continue our winning ways with the BMW. So they'll be here in a couple of hours, and we will go over everything so they understand that this is not a Spec Miata, and load them up and send them out. So as soon as that happens, kind of a bittersweet day for me, because as most of you know that have been following this program that I've been running the past, so this is our 5th season with the BMW. I can't believe it's actually been that long. Yeah, it's all going away. So 5 years is about all I last in one particular car, so it's time to move on. So what we'll end up doing is we'll move the Mazda 2 over into the BMW spot. And I'm going to give a couple more shout outs this week, because I had a couple guys that have helped me with stuff for the Mazda 2. So we're going to be talking about all the Mazda 2 stuff this winter, moving forward, I guess, from this week on. So a big shout out to Todd Burris, who actually helped me source a new AIM MXP for the Mazda. I'm a big fan of the AIM dashes, and Todd and also Louis Bustiani helped me out with this new system that AIM came up with. They came up with it this year or last year. It's a Smarty Cam Dual. So AIM finally came up with a front and rear, or you can do it any way you want. You could point it at the driver, you could point it at your feet, whatever. I'll probably use it as a front and rear. You can use the rear as a proper rear view camera. It'll all integrate and overlay all of the data all in one. So I've got a bunch of bits and pieces in here for that, an LCU1 oxygen sensor to go with it, a data hub. So thanks guys for helping me out with all of this AIM stuff. I can't wait to get all of this installed. And if you were following my post runoffs last year, I had given a shout out to Jack Ivester from Speedcom, and he was there again this year. And so I bought a whole new setup from him, digital bass, and all of the new bits and pieces that I need to put a digital radio into the Mazda 2. He did show me this new button that they came out with that I ended up purchasing. So for any of you that have ever dealt with some of the old style buttons, you know that they're big and they're clunky and they come straight out the back, and you have a real problem with finding a way to mount this cable properly. Well, with this 90-degree end, I'm going to be able to mount it in the wheel, and it will route right along the spoke very cleanly and efficiently, because one of the things that happens to these in race cars is this wire gets really yanked and twisted and bent, and next thing you know, you have a button that doesn't work. But you can see that they've done a really nice shielding job by finishing off this 90-degree angle. So there's always things to upgrade and look at, and really appreciate Jack being there and walking me through everything. And so we've got some really cool things to start working on with the Mazda 2. But in the meantime, I'm going to go over everything with the lads here in a couple hours. I even have a BMW hat for them, which I'm going to give Bill Lampkin a shout out, because Bill Lampkin actually gave me this hat when I had the BMW, and I am sending it on to Tyler. I'm sure he would love to walk around the track with his new BMW M hat. So I know it's not a M Series Z3, but it's still a BMW hat. So we'll go over all of that stuff with them. So a little long-winded today. Hey, you got 2 weeks of extra stuff to catch up with. So Runoffs report. Really good runoffs. We did a test day with the BMW. Greg did really good. We got up to speed, and it really came down to the last day of qualifying. And kudos to him. John Hainsworth pipped Greg by 1/10 of a second for the pole. It was super, super close. But of course, we knew that we could race, and they unfortunately had a really bad accident in the second lap of the race in E-Production. And so there was actually a red flag and then a black flag, and they had to resort the grid. So what we had was about a 7-lap shootout at the end. So John led a lot. John actually led more laps than Greg did, but Greg was able to do a really nice over and under move in turn 1. If you have, by the way, if you haven't seen any of this, get onto YouTube and look up SCCAOfficial, which is their YouTube page, and you can find all of the race days, all 3 race days, and the footage is awesome. The commentary is great from some of the greats like Greg Kramer and Tom O'Gorman. Those guys just do an amazing job of commentating and really smart about everything that went on. But anyway, Greg was able to pull off this really nice over-under move in turn 1 and led the next couple of laps. And on the very last lap, and I think John had the right idea, but up in turn 10, he went a little wide and got in the grass and ended up spinning off and finished a little ways back. And then Greg was able to stroke it on home for another win. So that is 4 national championships in a row for this car, and 2 different drivers, obviously. So couldn't have been happier on how that worked out. So as calm and collected as E-Production was, of course, F-Production always tends to prove that they have to have high drama and all sorts of stuff going on and last-minute passes and things like that. But I wanted to give a really big shout-out to Ken Kennard for winning his first national championship in the ex-Mark Carpenter, ex-Kevin Ruck. Kevin never drove it, but ex-JPM. I owned it for a while when that year at the Runoffs when Rick Harris drove it. You'll remember it sat over here. It was silver. Ken has done a really good job with the car the last couple of years, and in his 23rd start at the Runoffs won a national championship. Congratulations to him. Cliff really did have probably the car of the week, but had some unfortunate contact in the race, which sent him back a little bit, and then was able to work his way back forward after the full course caution. Odds are it's possible that Kevin Ruck might not have gotten caught, and after Cliff kind of got tangled up with somebody else, and Kevin probably would have won, but the full course caution brought everybody back together, and Kevin Ruck actually finished 3rd, and Cliff finished 2nd. Just, I don't know, a car length between him and Ken. So that was really good. Watching the E-Production race, it was pretty uneventful up front. They did have some good battles for like 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th between Jason Lamanna, Rick Benazik. See, I got to remember these guys' names because I'm going to be racing against them next year. Who was it? Oh, the CRXs. Will Perry, Vesa Silligren. I think there was one more car in there at some one point. But anyway, that was actually the best race of the E-Production race. But a shout out to Chris Shaftsma, who beat Steve Sargis pretty handily. Pretty impressive. You don't beat Steve Sargis like that very easily. And Chris was able to get out the beginning, ran a flawless race, and won his 2nd national championship in a row. So, of course, my goal next year is to make it a little bit harder on him. So we're going to get to working on the Mazda 2. Our goal is to go down to COTA in February with not only the Mazda 2, but I'm going to go with the lads to help them with the BMW to kind of give them a first weekend crash course and what this car is all about. And then we're going to hit the Super Tours next year. We're going to hit Hallett. We're going to go up for the June sprints, things like that. So really going to push forward, push hard. It was a little hard for me not to drive at the Runoffs this year, to be honest, but super proud of all my guys. So Mason Workman and Charlie Campbell actually had a really good race. They were right in the mix in the top 5 in F production. I think if they'd have worked together a little bit better, they might have been able to be a little closer to the front. But I saw big improvements from Doug Weaver over the week, and Steven Simons and Perry had a good week. Just a bunch of customers that really, at one point when Kevin Ruck was having his trouble, we had the top 9 in F production with JPM engines at one point. So it didn't last the whole week, but really good stuff. Oh, and of course a shout out to John Brackey, who actually finished 2nd in E production after he got around Peter Norton, and John Hainsworth went off the track. So shout out to John Brackey for finishing 2nd. So I think John's going to be pushing pretty hard next year for his home track in Elkhart Lake. So we'll be helping him with that as well. And of course, a bunch of other customers, as we always do. So it is fall, winter, time to build motors, time to get working on cars. We've got a bunch of really interesting stuff coming up, guys, in the next month or 2. So I appreciate you watching as always. Stay tuned for more stuff. There's going to be a Runoffs around the paddock on the grid video coming out very soon on the channel. So keep your eyes open for that. And I appreciate you guys watching, and have a great rest of your week. Take care.